Picture this. An animator sketches a turnaround of a character, a few gestures, feeds it into an AI system, and watches lifelike characters smoothly brought to life before their eyes. Their workload drastically reduced as virtual assistants animate backgrounds in between frames and simulate physics. New worlds spawn from AI-generated art and stories. This tantalizing vision shows AI's promise, but the reality has some bitter notes. Advancements like automated lip sync and movement still require substantial human interaction and guidance. Most tools focus on accelerating discrete steps rather than holistic creation. So, will AI truly transform animation workflows? Or like my scrumptious green tea, does its future role need a good steeping in reality? Grab your favorite cup of tea, and let's dive deeper into the animation industry and where it's going. Guys, I don't know if you realize this, but the animation industry is in flux. There are some major changes underway. The rise of streaming has massively disrupted traditional animation business models and revenue sources. Kids' TV networks like Nickelodeon have declined, while streamers like Netflix have ascended. And we're even seeing now that major streaming platforms are starting to decline as well. But lower production costs and distribution barriers are enabling more independent animation studios to compete with the major players. Audiences are increasingly platform agnostic. They are more loyal to content rather than networks. And this gives an edge to digital-first studios. Being digital gives us data analytics, which can allow for much more precise targeting of niche audiences. Studios can cater content to specific demographics. We can see like short-form content, interactive content, and even personalized content with the rise of VR and AR. And we're going to see this change even more as viewing habits evolve and change. We're even seeing like normal, like linear 22-minute episodes on fixed schedules are declining. Major studios like Disney are facing tough competition from digital disruptors that are doing things differently and are built on business models that aren't so bloated. Their dominance is threatened unless they can adapt quickly. All of these points to an era of unprecedented change. Legacy giants are scrambling to adapt, and insurgent digital-first indie studios are rising. Guys, this is crazy, but the market is forecast to grow by almost 60% within the next 9 years. The global anime market is expected to grow from, $28.61 billion in 2022 to $60.06 billion by 2030. Guys, that's growing at a rate of 9.8% in that period. Guys, we're seeing headlines like how Crunchyroll is beating the competition in anime streaming. Despite efforts by AMC, Disney, and others to cash in on the Japanese animation market, this Sony-backed service is years ahead of its rivals. We're even seeing with platforms like Netflix and others that because of financial distress, they're having to lay off animators. They're having to cancel productions that they were working on. There's an article that's talking about streaming's boom and bust cycle and how it hit animators hard, describing how an initial influx of investment led to lots of creative freedom and opportunities, but recent cost cutting has led to project cancellations and downturn in morale. So what am I saying here? The industry is changing, guys. We're moving out of this centralized large studio model. Am I saying that the large studios are completely going away? No, but we're moving away from that. And people are more driven to content that relates to them. And these large studios are just not able to deliver in the same way because their bottom line is dependent on them creating content that reaches a lot of different people. Speaking of companies that are having a hard time reaching people, Disney is struggling, y'all. They've been losing money on streaming investments. They've invested billions into putting out services like Disney Plus and Hulu and ESPN Plus. Now, they still have a lot of people subscribed to their platforms. Over 235 million total subscribers globally. However, the streaming division over at Disney continues to lose money due to the high costs of content and just operations. Listen, Disney spent aggressive amounts of money in order to get Disney Plus up and going. And it has not really paid off, it seems like, in the long run. In fact, I heard that they've lost 4 million subscribers, maybe it was more than that, just recently. And as we know, the former CEO, Bob Chapek, was removed or let go, or he decided to leave, however you want to put that. And former CEO, Bob Iger, stepped in to try to fix things, and the ship seems to be continuing to sink. The future of content is streaming. People want to have access to their entertainment wherever they are, whenever they want it. Let's just be completely honest. Cable TV is dying. It's on life support. And I think Disney knows that too. There's rumors that Bob Iger is actually going to be selling off Fox property and ABC network properties. And actually, Disney Plus is going to be going away. It's going to become one platform with Hulu, from what I hear. And so Disney is trying to save and conserve money, just like most other businesses are. But they do recognize that streaming is the way to go, and that the old ways of cable networks are dying off. Disney is at a crossroads, much like a lot of these legacy media outlets. And they may be the first, but they definitely won't be the last. Iger is considering selling parts or even all of Disney, is what the rumor is. We're hearing rumors of potential buyers like Apple buying Disney. Disney has even announced a reorganization of its properties into 3 total divisions: Entertainment Division, ESPN, and Parks and Experiences. This would mean that the 3 segments of its company are split up so that they're not as bloated, and the different segments of the company can really focus on what they're doing rather than trying to mix and be focused on all sorts of things at once. Really not a bad idea. It helps to keep such a big, bloated company a little more agile. The company is also planning to cut costs substantially, which is going to lead to some job cuts. But the potential sale of certain divisions or even the whole company remains on the table. The coming months will be crucial in determining the way forward for Disney under Iger's leadership. They've got some really difficult decisions to make because they are such a huge company. They've got so much money wrapped up into things that it's hard to be nimble and agile in today's market. Now, this is all like crazy to me. I grew up with Disney being a mainstay in the entertainment world and would have never thought that it would have gone the way of the dodo. Now, Disney's not gone yet, but things are looking like it's going to have to change. And this really just goes to show how fickle our world is and how these empires so easily fall. I also think that this is just another sign of the democratization of entertainment overall. Whether you're in music, whether you're in animation, film, we're going to see the industry decentralize, and we're going to see a lot more independent stuff, which is awesome because it creates opportunities for people. Phew, holy cow. Okay, that's enough about Disney for the moment. But I think it's so important for us to see where the industry is and what we're dealing with right now, because guess what, guys? I truly do believe that there are going to be major opportunities for indie animation coming up in the near future, and I'm super excited about that. Some of you guys may know I have a buddy who he and I are working on developing an anime, and I'm working on some other TV show concepts and animation concepts. And I'm excited because of the opportunities that are going to be coming up in the industry. Listen, with the advent of streaming, there's so many more opportunities for us to distribute what we've created, and we don't have to spend nearly as much money to get it out there. Not only that, but we're not going to get stuck by traditional gatekeepers. Independent creators don't need networks. They don't need studio deals. Production costs are continuing to drop because of digital tools, especially AI tools. Also, because of streaming, we can release our animations directly to the consumer. We're not reliant on cable television. We're not reliant on waiting for a serialized TV time slot or a theatrical release or something like that. And even better than that, we can get in touch with niche audiences. See, before, you didn't have that option, really. You were releasing your content on a global scale. You were releasing it to everyone. And so it needed to appeal to everyone. But now with the internet, with streaming, we can focus in on specific chunks of the market. And guys, we're seeing that is making a big difference. Anime is such a great example because it is a very niche market. And guess what, guys? Streaming platforms like Netflix and even Disney trying to push into that a little bit, they cannot compete with Crunchyroll because Crunchyroll is totally focused on anime, and they have a large library that they've acquired over years and years and years. And so they have a large foot in the door of that specific niche. And some of these big dogs can't compete with them because they're too spread out in other areas. Also, some things that I don't feel like streaming platforms are super taking advantage of right now are getting data from the people watching the shows. I mean, yeah, sometimes you can give it like a thumbs up or a thumbs down on a piece of content or whatever, but really getting in touch with your audience is something that a lot of these platforms are not taking advantage of. And streaming data is going to help so much to be able to match content to specific viewer interests. Also, we're seeing that shorter form content is thriving online. I don't know if any of you guys have ever watched the show Ruby before. It's an anime, kind of. It was developed here in the States by a company called Rooster Tooth Studios. And they started off online doing a little show called Red versus Blue. And eventually they started making the show called Ruby. And the episodes that came out were like 7 minutes long or 10 minutes long or 13 minutes long, whatever the length of the story needed to be for that episode. And they've kind of stayed with that idea of just telling the story that needs to be told in that episode. And this is really cool because you don't have to worry about having a specific length of content. You just need to create content that connects with your audience. And if it's short, that's fine, honestly, because we live in a society that loves short form content. And this makes it easier for individuals or small teams to produce quality animation in shorter bursts. Listen, there are so many options for how indie animation studios can make revenue and they can make money. We don't have to all rely on subscription fees. If there's been one thing proven to me over the past few years, it's that when people believe in a project, they are willing to go the extra 10 miles to be able to support that project. I just have a few examples. Vox Machina by Critical Role. It was a huge crowdfunding project and got millions of dollars in order to go into production, and then Amazon picked it up. But it all started from fans getting behind the project. Or going on the other end of the spectrum, the Wingfeather Saga on Angel Studios. This was another crowd-funded project, and it's fantastic. And there's other ways too. I mean, ad revenue sharing, along with crowdfunding or fan tipping, there are ways to create monetization beyond just a subscription fee. So listen, digital distribution is going to give creators freedom. It's going to lower production costs. It's going to be lowering distribution costs. You're going to be able to focus in on niche. You're going to be able to focus in and target your niche audience. And you're going to be able to provide access to global direct-to-consumer monetization, meaning that you don't have to rely on subscription fees or waiting for people to buy your product or anything like that. You can actually get people to support your project, that believe in it, or you can get companies that want to advertise. This is opening the door for indie animation studios and animators to thrive outside of the traditional system. And guys, we kind of talked about this, but AI is enabling new creative possibilities. AI can help with labor-intensive tasks like in-betweening, coloring, sound effects, etc. Everything that you need to accelerate production. And guys, this is going to allow animators to be more focused on creative tasks. I know there's a lot of controversy about all of the AI stuff, but listen, if we can stop being afraid and we can really look at the tools in front of us and figure out how to use them, it is going to supercharge these indie animation studios. Listen, guys, like AI scene composition and text to image generation. We've seen this already with like DALL-E, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion. This stuff can provide creative spark for environments, for characters, for props. AI can help generate background art, textures, materials to speed up environment design. So we don't have to spend time doing things that really aren't going to get that much attention. It can help with dialogue writing. It can help with story prompt and plot generation. AI can provide jumping off points for narrative scripts. And guys, there's even new stuff coming out that allow you to create AI voices. There's stuff out there now that you can literally pay a voice actor to come in and they can act out different characters, and then you can use AI to change their voice into a believable sounding other voice. This means that the entry into getting quality voices is going to even drop as well. Eventually, we're going to start seeing stuff like AI music composition tools as well that allow animators to easily generate dynamic, customizable scores and songs. We already have some of this, but we're going to see more of this as well. Motion and physics prediction AI so that it can help create movement, interactions, simulations that are more realistic with less manual tuning. We're even seeing stuff where you can literally use a phone or a camera and you can actually have it around and you can do motion capture using really cheap hardware. AI can help refine animation curves, easing, etc. And it can even inject secondary motion for more lifelike results. And guys, listen, this is such a fast changing industry right now. Like literally a year ago, video generated AI stuff looked pretty bad, but now it's not looking that bad. It's not perfect, but it's not looking that bad. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the new stuff from Gen 2 where you can literally take a picture and it will animate that picture with no other input pretty much. Now, it would be nice if you could give some other input and you could have a little more control, but we're not there yet. But regardless, it's still amazing where we're at in all of this. Or even in recent news, there's the simulation that's come out where you can literally go and you can put in a prompt and it will create a South Park episode based off of your prompt. And now, from what I've heard, it's not great, honestly. What the AI creates is not great from what I understand. But regardless, this is all stuff that's in its infancy, guys. It's just beginning. And with how fast it's growing, it's not going to be long before everything changes. And listen, we're seeing the streaming wars continue to heat up. I mean, Disney Plus versus Netflix versus Paramount Plus versus all of these platforms that are really fighting to get their space in the market. And that's going to continue to shift and change and move. But guys, I would really love to see platforms that are more inviting for independent animation studios, independent filmmakers. And I'm not just talking about something exactly like YouTube either. Something that's a little more geared specifically towards this kind of content. Television quality content, film quality content that has built-in tools that allow the creators to be able to focus in on targeted niche audiences and then allow them to have tools to be able to get support from their fans, deliver behind the scenes content to their fans, and that they can actually monetize and build up their following there. Kind of like YouTube, but not YouTube. Because listen, guys, ultimately people are going to pay for whatever streaming platforms fit their fancy. We only have so much money every month. Everybody can't afford all of the streaming services. But how cool would it be, instead of having to pay for all of these different streaming platforms, if you truly value new creative content, what if you could subscribe to a platform that had a variety of different independent artists and filmmakers all on it that are putting out content that they love, that they've put their heart and their soul and their blood, sweat, and tears into, and that you can directly help them as well? That seems awesome to me. I don't know, that just kind of like makes me nerd out a little bit. Because let me tell y'all, all of these streaming platforms, what they're trying to invest in right now is original content. And a lot of them are really struggling, to be completely honest. These productions that they are putting on are spending millions and millions of dollars. And when they invest millions of dollars on a project and it turns out to not be worth that investment, they're losing money. And so that's why we see platforms like Netflix canceling series like that. It's because they're looking at the information, they're looking at the data, and they're saying, okay, this is not performing well enough. It needs to hit the can. Or also, it can also factor in, we've spent this much money on this project, but it's not making our money back. And so it just needs to go. We can't invest any more money into this. But people want to watch new original content. I mean, we all love the classics, but we're always looking for new stories. And I really believe that platforms like the one I described, where independent artists and animators and filmmakers can come in and put their content online and get support directly from you, the person watching it, is going to be so amazing for helping these artists to be able to thrive. And listen, guys, this is all going to continue to change. Like, we're seeing massive changes in how people want to consume content. I mean, look at how important interactive and personalized storytelling has become. Video games have grown massively in popularity over the past 25 years. And some people enjoy playing video games more than they do watching TV or films because they get to be in the story. And the steadily increasing popularity of VR and AR is only going to increase people's desire to dive into these stories and to interact with them. On the plus side, this adds an additional level of personalization for the content, drawing more people in to want to consume it. On the negative side, this may also lead to increased escapism, because that's just what we need all the time. Not that there's anything wrong with escaping into a story every once in a while. Okay, guys, so if you're an indie animator out there, I just want to give you some advice. Not that I'm some majestic, wonderful, wise old one or anything like that, but these are just things that often we as creatives kind of don't remember to look at. Or we sometimes feel like we're destroying the purity of our art by doing some of these things. First thing is, it's so important to leverage data to make smart, creative decisions. Being creative is only great when you have the time and the resources to continue to do what you like to be creative with. If we can be smart and we can use data to help make informed decisions, we're going to be able to find that balance between artistic and realism, the art and the business. Another really important thing is for you to figure out where your niche is. Who is your target audience? I know it's really tempting to just say, I want everybody to enjoy it, but be real with yourself. If you want to create an anime, then realize that you're speaking to an anime-loving audience. If you want to create kids content, remember that you're trying to create content for kids. Well, also for the parents, because the parents have to end up watching the show with the kids over and over and over again. But I digress. And so it's really important for you to figure out what your niche is and then get your finger on the pulse of your niche. Focus. Look at the analytics of the viewing habits and the engagement, because this can really guide you on what type of stories and characters resonate most with your target audience. You can look at data on audience demographics and the psychographics, and you can inform character design and setting choices based off of those things. You can even find people that are a part of your target audience, and you can test the concepts with those focus groups or even on social media polling. That's a huge thing now. And you can get feedback so that you can refine things. Because listen, if the goal is to have people watch your show, then you want to bring them along for the journey. And if you can get them invested and involved from an early point, they're going to be there with you the whole time. Also, if you put out this idea and you spend so much time working on it, and then you start to show it to people and they're like, yeah, that's not really my cup of tea, you've wasted all of this time and effort. But if you can, at the early stages, start showing things to people and see what their reactions are, see if that's something that they're like, oh man, like I would love to watch that. That sounds so exciting to me. Then you're going to be able to make an informed decision on how you can move forward. Or how you need to refine things. It's also important to be looking at things like trends and culture. And I'm not saying that you should always let all of that infiltrate into what you're creating, but it's still a good idea to look at that, and it can inform some of your creative decisions. Also, be a student of the past. Study what made past films successful in different genres and different figures and optimal story structures and arcs. Also, looking at international markets can be a huge thing too, because listen, a lot of people that are making content in America are not dubbing stuff for other countries. If you can get ahead of the ball and you can figure out where your work, your animation, your show or whatever is going to hit well in other kinds of countries, then you can be ahead of the ball because you can start to work on making that work for other languages so that other people can consume it in the world. Because guess what? International market's going to bring in more money, more audience, more people to connect with. Also, it's good for us to be able to hear from our audience and from people that love what we're making, or maybe they didn't love something that we made. And we can learn, and we can read reviews, and we can read critiques, and we can identify areas of weakness that we can improve in future projects. Does this mean we have to listen to everything that they say? Of course not. But it is helping us to make informed decisions. That's what all of this is. None of this is rules. I think sometimes that's how the major studios kind of look at it, but it shouldn't be rules. These should be things that help to inform our creative decisions so that we can make art that people love to watch. Another big thing is use AI judiciously to enhance your workflows. AI is continually changing, and it's really important to stay on top of where the technologies are at, what new things have come out, staying up to date on the newest technologies, and figuring out how to incorporate them into your creative and administrative workflows is huge. Listen, guys, over the next 10 to 20 years, AI is going to change the landscape. It really is. I mean, unless there's some sort of a huge catastrophic thing that happens, that's going to be the case. Listen, you can use AI to create schedules for your actors. You can use AI to look for errors in your script. You can leverage AI for routine tasks like in-betweening, lip sync, physics simulations, accurate overall animation. You can use it for concept art inspiration, and then you can refine it manually to get it to where you want it to be. You can employ AI voices. You can employ AI voices selectively for secondary characters, or you can hire a voice actor to come in and voice all of the secondary characters, and then use AI to tweak their voice to make them sound like this girl or this guy or whatever. And it's going to sound fairly convincing, especially for background characters. You can have AI draft environmental or background assets for animators to modify and perfect. You can use AI facial animation as a starting point, and then you can manually enhance the emotional nuance that you want. Eventually, we'll be able to train AI on past scenes that we've made so that we can automate continuity for repetitive animations. We'll be able to implement AI cameras so that we can have dynamic suggestions, but then the animators get to choose the best shots. Could you imagine having the AI create 8 different shot angles that you could use in a scene? And I'm not just talking about like static angles. Maybe some of those would be static, but also dynamic. And then you get to pick the best ones and you get to adjust it to however you want. But it gives you a starting point, and you don't have to waste so much time trying to edit where the camera is going inside of your computer. Another big thing, guys, is build authentic communities and stay flexible. One thing that Hollywood and all these big animation studios and streaming giants struggle with is building authentic communities around their content. Now, that's not across the board. Obviously, every show is going to have a group that loves it. But we have an opportunity as independent creators to be able to really interact with our communities, and they get to really interact with us. And listen, getting an audience and getting people to look at your show is one thing, and that anybody can do that. But creating fans is a whole different process. Creating a community around you and around what you're making is a whole different process. But guess what? When you have loyal fans, they will stick with you as long as you continue to resonate with them and connect with them. Larger studios are not able to do this, or they don't. one of the two. We can be engaged with our niche communities on social platforms through consistent interaction with them. We can foster transparency by giving fans insight into the creative process that we go through to make the stuff that they love. We can encourage fan content and user-generated art to deepen community bonds. I'll never forget, going back to RWBY, at one point during the early parts of their show, they actually did this contest where different people could submit character art for a new character that they were going to put into the show. And this one person actually ended up winning, and their character became a part of the show. Being in an independent studio also lets you do things like collaborate projects with other creators. Because we don't have all of the studio mumbo jumbo going on, we can actually interact with other creators and we can collaborate with them. That's crazy. And guys, there's other stuff that you can do too. It doesn't have to all be online. You can go to conventions and events and connect with fans in person. Or going back to online, you can also offer patron rewards like production diaries or other stuff like that for loyal supporters or people that are paying for a membership or a behind-the-scenes access to you. Guys, this whole thing is shifting and changing and moving, and so don't be afraid to pivot and experiment with formats, genres, and styles. Don't be afraid to pivot and move around when it comes to how you engage with your community. This is the advantage that you have over all the big dogs. Flexibility and adaptability. If you can maintain adaptability and you can jump on trends and new opportunities and then jump off and then jump onto the next one, you're going to see growth like never before. If you can collaborate with diverse creators so that you can infuse your projects with new ideas and perspectives, it is going to be amazing for you. Guys, as we start seeing more and more new platforms and distribution channels opening up, we want to jump on those platforms because listen, that's where you want to go. You want to go where the attention is at. And then once the attention goes off that platform, jump onto the next thing where the attention is at. And so guys, let's wrap this all up. Listen, I love animation. I remember watching Snow White, not the live action one that's coming out, but the original animated movie. And I always thought it was beautiful and scary and terrifying and wonderful. And I've grown to love animation over the years, whether it was from Disney or whether it was anime or whatever. But this industry is continuing to change, and especially with the advent of AI coming into the picture and completely changing how we do stuff, and it will continue to change how we do stuff. Everything is changing, and this is going to create openings and opportunities for you, and the future is looking really bright for new independent creators that want to get into this space. And guys, I want to encourage you to do it. If you have that dream in your heart and you don't know where to start to do that, let's figure out how to do this together. Just recently, I was watching an episode of a show that Dylan Gu, he actually used to work on the production of RWBY, I think back in season 3 or something like that. He recently created an episode for a show that he's working on with some different artists and different people, animators online. I cannot remember the name of it right now, but it is amazing. It's super good. And listen, guys, if we can continue to collaborate and work together and draw on each other's strengths, we are going to see a massive amount of growth inside of the independent art, animation, filmmaking community. I want to be there with y'all. This is on my heart so bad. But listen, guys, the future is bright. Keep learning, keep adaptable, keep moving forward. Don't give up. Keep planning, keep writing, keep drawing, keep animating, because guys, it is going to pay off in the end. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me today on Reimagine Entertainment with Josiah Wright. And if you enjoyed today's episode, then I want to encourage you guys, please follow me. I talk about stuff like storytelling and filmmaking and the animation industry, the future of the industry, and songwriting. I'm a musician, I'm a songwriter, all because I want to help encourage artists just like you on how we can continue to reimagine the entertainment industry as a whole so that we can continue to move forward creating amazing things. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching today. And until next time, keep creating, friends.